Well, it's our choice if Michelle's up first. How's that?
I want to announce why I'm choosing this song. The UCC has designated the second Sunday in February as Racial Justice Sunday, and in addition, of course, it is Super Bowl Sunday. And I'm very excited because I'm a huge Eagles fan. But I've really been upset by the fact that I have seen some notices on Facebook of people who are calling for a boycott of the Super Bowl because the Eagles requested that Lift Every Voice and Sing be sung, the Black National Anthem, be sung along with the national anthem. So I think we should start out by singing Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is 593. Thank you for that.
593. Thank you, Rochelle. I echo you, caveat. Verses 1 and 4. And we have time for one more. I see you, Donna.
175.
175.
1 and 4.
1 and 4. Please join in the welcome. Welcome to the United Church. We are a peace and justice community, a movement towards wholeness in a fragmented world. Together we create a strong sense of belonging, a safe place to flourish, and opportunities to grow in our own way and in our own time. So we'll take a moment for, bringing in the light of Christ. The person who rearranges the service every week. She's a lot to keep up with. Now we'll have a moment for social justice.
Wow, that was really emotional for me to sing those songs this morning. And okay, good. That was very emotional and good. With all that's been going on this week, I thought it was important to bring some good news. And take a look at what's in your hand that you're receiving right now. On February 3rd, for the very first time, the St. Augustine City Commission St. Augustine Beach City Commission chose to recognize and participate in Black History Month. More than 70 citizens from across all of St. Augustine were there in support of what they stood up to do. That same night, the St. Augustine Compassionate Village, which is a mutual aid collaborative for seniors, was launched by Compassion St. Augustine. And then the next day, 1,125 activists to end hunger from nearly every congressional district in the country participated in Bread for the World's launch of their campaign, Nourish Our Future. It's an advocacy campaign, and over 250 commitments were made online to hold offerings of letters, which is similar to what we do, very close to what we do during the 2025 year. including the United Church and the Quakers in St. Augustine. And all I have to say to that is, and I grew up around here so I can say it, God is still speaking, y'all. And I want to invite Cam to please follow me up here, because Cam has an action for us that comes right out of the way in which he's being affected by all of this. Cam, you're on, buddy.
So I'm gonna talk about how they're trying to take away the Department of Education. If they're trying to take the Department of Education, that means they don't have any extracurricular activities like after school, sports, gifted, and extra help for kids who can't learn. So what you can do is you can go onto this app on your phone, which is called 5 Calls. And what you do is you put in your location, and it'll tell you what the problems are around you, and then you can click on the problem you have that affects you or people you know. It'll give you like a script. You scroll down, you can see your script. Then you can read your script or just say something yourself. You call your senators that represent your state or the House of Representatives. Then after you call them, you say what you need to say. Then you just press one of the options for, like, you left a voicemail or you just directly called them. Usually goes to voicemail, but yeah. Thank you.
Michelle wanted Cam.
What was the name of the app that you said?
5 Calls.
Yeah.
It's called 5 Calls. It's free. The number 5, CALLS.
After church, Cam can give a tutorial. Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
If you looked at Donna's midweek newsletter, you may have seen the video by Dr. Velda Love of the UCC's Join the Movement. And the movement is the fight against racism, white supremacy, and xenophobia. And Dr. Love is proposing that the next church-wide book read be Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This was King's last book before he was assassinated, and it calls for a movement for justice for all people. As Donna said in the newsletter, this is a really appropriate follow-up to our focus last year on the 60th anniversary of the passage of the Civil Rights Act. So I'm hoping you'll join us. We're beginning next Sunday after church. Again, here's the book. You can get it on Libby from the library. They don't have hard copies, but you could probably get it on interlibrary loan. Or order it online. I got the last copy from Barnes and Noble. So yeah, look around. I hope you'll join us.
If anyone needs help getting a book, let me know. So I just want to say once again, it is good to be here with you in this safe and sacred space where we can breathe deep. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I'm holding my breath. For the past several months, we have been reminding ourselves that whether we gather here in person or we are joining via the live stream, we are companions on this journey. Not one person travels through this life alone. We've also been reminding ourselves and one another of what I refer to as our shared truths, which take place along this journey, which is no matter how carefully we plan, things can quickly become unplanned. No matter how well we pack, there are always things we forget to pack or wish we wouldn't have packed. No matter how well we prepared, we are not always prepared. That all sound familiar? It's life. And every once in a while, it's important that we pause, Selah, as the psalmist says, stop, look around, and do our best to figure out where in the world are we right now. And that's the question we've been asking during this phase of our journey. Where are we now? Who are we now? Are we where we want to be? Are we who we want to be? To help answer those questions, we've been turning to 3rd Isaiah, who offers the imagery of sentinels posted. Sentinels like we posted here on this table. Sentinels who are looking out for each other, sentinels who are looking to each other, sentinels who are surveying the landscape, protecting who we treasure, looking out for what we treasure, protecting dreams, praying without ceasing, refusing to be silent, especially when we notice that we are neither who or where we want to be. When we realize we're not where we want to be and who we don't want to be, I don't know if I worded that right, but you get the point. That's when we start rattling God's cage, doing our best to wake God up and say, this is not what was planned. This is not what was promised. And yet we know and we trust that God is with us. The Spirit of holiness moves through us. And for this we are grateful. It is not easy being human. So may we continue to be strong and courageous. May we continue to be unafraid. May we continue to be grateful. And may we remind ourselves and one another that the Spirit of hope, the Spirit of holiness and wholeness is with us. May we ask for and trust in her holy guidance. And again, more than anything, may we be grateful. So again, I invite you to take a deep inhale. Exhale fully. And again, deep inhale, full exhale. Who are you grateful for? Who do you appreciate? Who do you treasure? Who do you value? What are you grateful for? And is it easier to name the what than the who? Invite you to come forward and light a candle of gratitude if you would like to. We're going to continue worshiping with our whole bodies. So you are invited to stand if you would like to, maybe not now or when we get into it. But I invite you to extend your hands and repeat after me. I am grateful for my skin color. And I am grateful for my neighbor's skin color. And I invite you to touch your hair. And if you don't have hair on your head, you might have hair on your face or your ears or your arms. And repeat after me, I am grateful for my hair. And I'm grateful for my neighbor's hair or lack thereof. And then touch your mouth. I'm grateful for my language. And I'm grateful for my neighbor's language. Touch your belly and repeat after me. I am grateful for my body. You can be grateful for your belly too. And I'm grateful for my neighbor's body. Put your hands on your heart. I am grateful for the rhythm of my body. And I'm grateful for my neighbor's rhythm. Shake your hands, wiggle your fingers, move your feet, and repeat after me. I am grateful for my dance. And I am grateful for my neighbor's dance. And deep exhale and continue giving thanks.
these bodies and you come and live. You gave us these bodies and you come and live. We are easily damaged. Have you seen the scars? That's just scratching the surface, more beneath where those are. Gave us these bodies and you come and live. Gave us these bodies and you come and live. May we love them as you do. Let us love them as you do. Inside, outside, through and through. Let us love them as you do. But we do so much damage. Have you seen the scars? We keep hurting each other. Sometimes that's just how we are. Gave us these bodies and you chuckled. Gave us these bodies and you called them good. May we love them as you do. Let us love them as you do. Inside, outside, through and through. Let us love them as you do. These bodies, they are fearfully, wonderfully made. Don't believe the lies someone say. No flesh and bones are hearts and hands, are love in every way. Our flesh and bones are hearts and hands, are love in every way. And you come and you gave us these bodies and you come and may we love them as you do. Let us love them as you do. Inside, outside, through and through. Let us love them as you do. Let us love them as you do. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because God's given Jesus Christ, God's Son. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because God's given Jesus Christ, God's Son. And now let the weak strong. Let the poor say I am rich because of what our God has done for us. And now let the weak say I am strong. Let the poor say I am rich because of what my God has done for us. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because God's given Jesus Christ, God's Son. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks for the Holy One. Give thanks because God's given Jesus Christ, God's Son. And now let the weak say I am strong. Let the poor say I am rich because of what my God has done for us. And now let the weak say I am strong. Let the poor say I am rich because of what my God has done for us. Give
The Spirit is among us right now. Today's responsive sacred reading is from portions of Psalm 9, translated by Reverend Dr. Wilda Gaffney. I will give thanks to the God who saves with my whole heart. I will tell of all your wonderful deeds. I will rejoice and exult in you. I will sing praise to your name, Most High. God, who is majesty, sits enthroned forever. She has established her throne for judgment. She judges the world in righteousness. She judges the people with equity.
She who is faithful is a stronghold for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble.
They trust you, they who know your name, for you do not forsake those who seek you, redeeming God. Sing praises to the Holy One enthroned in Zion. Declare her deeds among the people.
Be gracious to me, gracious one. See when I suffer from those who hate me.
You lift me up from the gates of death, so that I may recount all your praises. And in the gates of daughter Zion, rejoice in your salvation. And now, a prayer for the soul of a nation by Reverend Cameron Trimble. Holy One, you are the God of truth, justice, and mercy. In a time of deception,
Give us clarity.
in a time of corruption,
Give us courage.
in a time of despair,
Give us endurance.
we grieve the ways power is being abused, the ways lies are being upheld as truth, the ways injustice is being normalized. But we also remember that no empire stands forever.
You call us to be prophets for love, justice seekers for the common good, and advocates of the vulnerable.
Strengthen our resolve to resist the forces of greed and cruelty. Help us to wake up, to speak up, and to act in ways that align with your vision of justice. May we never be silent when truth must be spoken. May we never be passive when action is required.
May we be unwavering in our commitment to your kingdom, a kingdom of justice, love, and truth.
And the people of God say amen,
Amen.
which means may it be so. And the people of God say ashe,
Ashe.
which means it will definitely be so.
With mercy respond under the essence of love is always with us. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, born in the image of God Almighty. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, come to compassion, born to be free. How shall we love a neighbor filled with greed? How best respond to those consumed by hatred? Look beyond the fear that keeps them from knowing the abundance of love that's always with us. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, born in the image of God. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, called to compassion, born to be free. Then shall we see the images of Christ? Then shall we know that God is in our neighbor? How we will walk with mercy, respond, and know the essence of love is always with us. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, born in the image of God. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, come to compassion, born to be free.
Now I've done it. Matthew 5:13-16, as paraphrased by Eugene Peterson in The Message. Jesus says, "Let me tell you why you are here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost your usefulness and will end up in the garbage." Here's another way to put it. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors of the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, like a city on the hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Well, now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God.
That's better. Good morning. I am Nairi Karjan. I serve as the Transitional Conference Minister of the Florida Conference, United Church of Christ. I have only been here since February. This is February. Since September. I'm in here, meaning Florida, in Orlando, where our office is. And I bring you greetings from our 83 churches around the Florida Conference, with whom you are in covenant for ministry and mission and to do the work of Jesus in the world. So I bring you greetings from our staff as well, who work together to resource our congregations, because that's our first job. Our first responsibility is to be here to share with you the resources we have and what you need. And our congregations are the hands and feet of Christ, as I am experiencing you today in this place this morning. So I absolutely want to give you a huge and deepest thanks for being who you are. I thank you for being part of the Conference of the United Church of Christ. I thank you for being a social justice church, much needed in the world today. I thank you for being light and salt in the world. And thank you for actually bringing me to tears this morning. I am not a crier, but I cannot sing that first hymn without weeping. And especially today, when our world is really, I have no words to describe it. And it seems it is just a sad world. And so I didn't realize how emotional I was about it. So thank you for making me recognize that. So I want to share with you three points today. I am not usually a point person in communicating, but this actually, I also want to respond to what I'm experiencing here with you. And for that, I'm grateful as well. So as I think what it means to live in a world like this, and I actually am an Armenian born and raised in the Middle East. I was born and raised in Syria. I am Armenian by ethnicity, and we Armenians had a genocide in 1915 by the Ottoman Empire that was falling. So I actually know a lot of unrest. I have lived in through war 3 times in my life. The last one was in Beirut, Lebanon, where I went to college, and where we actually dodged bullets all the time and hid in places that were safe. And so I know what the world is like. But where we are today in our country seems different, and it is a bit scary. But I want to share a bit of the genocide story with you for a reason. So my grandmother was about 20 years of age. And people or soldiers there was one political group that was trying to not allow the Ottoman Empire to fall. But every empire fails. And at one point, because life has a cycle. So they were trying to build a state out of the empire, and the state had to be Muslim. But 2 Christian groups lived in that part of the world, and they were Armenians and Greeks. So they wanted to massacre them or send them into a death march. So Greeks, about 100,000 or more died, and the rest they were sent to their country. And we, Armenians, were on our own land, so we had nowhere else to go but die or go south and march. So my grandmother was 20, she had a baby, of course, after they were at the death march towards south, the baby died. And the soldiers did not like crying children, so they would force their mothers to leave them behind. And her mother-in-law was with her. One day she just felt something tugging at her arm. She turned around and it was her mother-in-law's hand hanging on her arm that was severed by a knife of one of the soldiers. She ran away. No, actually she didn't run away. So that was not. So one of the soldiers took her to their house. And so she became a servant for them. And many young Armenian women had turned into servants in Turkish homes. So one day she heard a conversation in the house about an upcoming wedding. So she thought, gee, I wonder who's getting married. Eavesdropping, she discovered that she was to be the bride. So they were planning that the soldier who brought her home would be her husband. Well, she was so upset about this that that's when she ran away. So at midnight, she left the house, she ran away. She was not caught, but she found herself alone. Eventually, she found an Armenian caravan or death march going south and joined them. First, she ended up in Iraq. She jumped in the Tigris River twice to kill herself. Eventually, she found herself in Aleppo, Syria, in a refugee camp. And there, the old priests matched the men and the women together arbitrarily and got them married. So my grandmother, Zarui, married my grandfather, Setran, who is 15 years her elder, and got married. And eventually, her body couldn't, of course, they were so emaciated, they couldn't have children for several years. And then eventually she had 4. My mother was the last of them, and she died only in November of this year, at 93 years of age.
Wow.
So I'm telling you this story not to depress you, because there's enough of this going on in the world. And we talk about them and we usually say, never again. Well, that word doesn't mean a thing to me, because we keep doing it over and over and over again. At least let's be honest about it. And one of the sad things about this story is that it gives you this generational trauma we are now learning about. And so my parents' generation didn't want to talk about it. My generation got some of the stories. A generation younger than me wants to know everything about it, because the state of Turkey that followed the Ottoman Empire denies that this ever happened. But 1.5 million Armenians died, and history is written even in the New York Times. So, but without a resolution, it is still something that just sits in our hearts as we live. Now, why is this story important? It's because it is a story of death, story of crucifixion, story of slaughter and bloodshed, but it is a story of also resurrection, a new beginning, and beginning over and again. It's a second chance. So my grandmother used to say, I know crucifixion in my body. I also know resurrection in my body. So this is something I am always grateful for. So when things are not easy, when things are difficult, when things are dark, when things are dim and gloomy, I think of the resurrection. I think of all the Armenians who came back to life and began again. I think of all those who had been slaughtered and are back again. And new beginnings, to start over again, have a second chance, be raised in this world right now, is what gives me not only gratitude, but also hope. So that stands at the center of my faith, and I'm always grateful for it. So today, as we share it from Matthew 5, that is my second place of gratitude, and perhaps even resurrection. See, in the book of Matthew, the first chapter already prepares you for what is to come. And the first chapter is the boring genealogy of Jesus, right? It is boring. Who wants to read a genealogy? And at the time, genealogy or bloodline was through the male head of household. Abraham and then Isaac and then Jacob and so on and so forth. However, Matthew mentions 5 women in the genealogy. Why? It's really interesting. He actually includes 5 women. One is Tamar. Anybody recognize the name? She tricked her father-in-law and had a baby with him because the father-in-law wouldn't let her marry the second or the third son. Second woman was Rahab. Anybody recognize? She was a harlot. Okay. Third, Ruth. Ruth is more known, but she was not even a Jew, she was a Gentile. Then we have, so that means not a clean bloodline, right? Then we have Bathsheba. Who doesn't know Bathsheba? Then you have Mary. So these were questionable characters that Matthew includes, and I think what he's saying is this gospel, this good news of Jesus, and the fact that Jesus is coming to the world is for all people. No one is excluded from this good news. No one is excluded from God's story in the world. And then the story continues, and the reason I want to talk, I share this with you is because we are still in the Epiphany time. We did Christmas, and one of the things I don't like about Christmas is that it ends. Because during Christmas, people are happier, they are more sharing, they're more generous, there's a spirit. But when Christmas ends, we get the story of the Magi, which is followed by the story of slaughter. It is the saddest story. So what happens is so Matthew tells us about this genealogy, which is interesting. Then he tells us something else interesting, which are the Magi who come to visit Jesus. Now the Magi also are not Israeli Jews. They also are not Hebrews. They are of a different race. They are Gentiles, unclean. They are also magicians. That's why the word Magi comes from. So they are Majus, which means magic. And magicians in the Old Testament were outlawed. They were not to practice magic because magic had this, sort of puzzling, mysterious stuff, and that stuff only belonged to God. Other people couldn't do it. Magicians, wizards, all of those were outlawed. So then we send the Magi. Why does Matthew include them? Probably for the same reason. Nobody is out of the story of God's love. Everyone, no matter who you are in the journey. So then we see Herod and the slaughter. Jesus becomes a refugee in his childhood. And we as a country want to throw them out. But Jesus was a refugee himself. Egypt welcomed him. What do we do with these stories? These are our faith stories. These are the stories for which I am grateful because it reminds me that our faith story is for everyone and that it is about justice and peace and love and compassion. And then I also remember that the word justice in the Bible always has a twin word. Can you guess what that twin word is? It has 2 twins, actually.
Righteousness.
Justice and righteousness. One more.
Mercy.
Mercy. Thank you. Justice and righteousness, justice and mercy always go together. Because imagine justice without mercy. It would be vengeance. Imagine justice without righteousness or right relationship. It would be completely dividing the world. So when you put those together, and when you see God's story given to all people, and when you see that resurrection stands at the center of the faith, we cannot but be a people of light and hope and salt in the world. Because resurrection is our light, and God's story for all people and justice is our hope. Today, when people say to me they're working for peace, I usually want to say, stop working for peace. Start working for justice instead. Because this peace is probably not gonna last until justice is in place. So thank you for being a church of light and salt, for bringing the flavor of salt to the world, and for bringing light to a world that is really dim right now. We need churches like you, and we need communities like you. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, Nairi. So it is this point in our time together when we share the feast of our lives, which is not here today. So I'm going to invite you to still come forward, bring your offerings and your gifts, leave your prayer requests. Miss the feast. Notice its absence. Grab your instruments as you move back to your seats. Once again, we worship with our whole bodies. Our closing song has become a favorite of this congregation, and it's really meant to sing to each other. So we are singing to them. Your words will be over there, we being us. They are singing to us. So I would recommend, so you can be looking this direction, your words will be over here. I know, I say that every time. Do what you want. Right? I need my note, which I think is in the Bible.
Well, it looks like it might be a hard road. And I know you might have a heavy load. I will lift you up when they push you down. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road. And it looks like it might be a long night. And I know it's gonna be a hard fight. I will stay right here. I will shine a light in the darkest hour. Well, it looks like it might be a long night. I ain't going nowhere. I will work. I will start in the name of love. I will sing, I will shout, I will sing into the skies above. And it looks like it might be a perilous fight, but I will follow your lead. And I know it might be a long time. But I will hold on tight, stay by your side. And it looks like it might be a perilous fight. I will follow your lead. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road. I'm gonna walk it with you. And I know we might have a heavy load, but I can carry some too. I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand my ground. And it looks like it might be a long road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. I'm gonna walk it with you. I'm gonna walk it with you. My life, the whole night through, 'cause it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. I invite you into the closing circle. If you are not comfortable standing, we can bring the circle to you. The closing shape is also acceptable. This is your opportunity to share a thought, a word, a takeaway from today, and then we'll take a moment for announcements.
I want to say that when I sing Imago Dei, I now sing Imago DEI.
You rebellious woman. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to my friend Marcia, right here.
Hi, Marcia.
Hello, Mommy. And I'm glad Bill and Dottie are back.
Yes.
And Joan.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to be here. This is gonna be my last Sunday for a while, but as I leave to go on the rest of my journeys, I will be comforted because I know you will walk with me.
Yes.
I will walk.
I want to say that this was a deeply spiritual gathering for me. Quakers would say this was a gathered meeting. And I want to thank a bunch of people. I want to thank Nair for your message, which really spoke to me. And I want to thank Dale and Mitzi for your readings, because you did a great job. And I want to thank Karen for her music. And I'm sure there are other, I was going to say, go Jan. And I also want to thank someone who maybe wasn't, we didn't see the evidence in this service, but last week at Quaker meeting, we had a young guy who joined us, and he said he had driven by our church a number of times and saw the sign for the Quaker meeting, and but especially, and so he always thought he would stop by, but he said that the messages that are put up every week always inspired him. So I believe that's Alfie.
That's Alfie.
Thank you, Alfie, for putting those messages out there. They do speak to people.
Nobody tells me what to put up there. I just put up what comes to me.
Thank you.
Let us try to tell you. We'll find out. Won't we? Thank you.
I thought that what you said about working for peace, and don't just work for peace, but really work for justice. There's an old Latin American saying, which is, peace is the fruit of justice.
Absolutely.
I'm very glad to be here in person today. I've been here before, but mostly I live in North Carolina, and I visit you through your online services, and it's so nice to feel your energy live and in person now and then. It really, it just feels so good. It's just wonderful. It's nice being here today. And the church I go to back home is called Salt, so it fit right in. So yeah.
Nice. Glad you're here.
I want to thank Cam for your challenging us today about the Department of Education.
So I want to encourage, sometimes watching the news lately, it's been really discouraging and it's tempting to feel hopeless, but I want to encourage everybody to think of this as a hopeful time. They've done studies. Recent, I think in 2023, a paper came out that they studied democracies that were backsliding, and they found that 80% of them, they had a resurgence, and it was more democratic after, if the people object. So it's an opportunity that we have now.
Thank you, Natalie.
Just very quickly, I'd like to thank everyone for taking part in our 12-hour prayer, day of prayer on February 6th, Thursday. So it's to be repeated on March 6th as well as April 6th. And while I did this one for February 6th, there will be someone else doing March 6th, but I'm sure we'll just have the same type of participation and maybe even more so. So thank you very much.
Violet, you're very quiet. Did you want to share something? Okay. It's good to see you. Anyone else? All right. In my belief or opinion, true communion takes place around that table over there. And I do want to mention that even though Connie is still having trouble with her eye, she prepared a feast for us. So let's remember Connie. Sure.
Yard sale, as I mentioned last week, it's gonna be March 8th. I'm gonna be standing in the lobby with a clipboard so you all can sign up to help. Or ask questions about what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do.
Thank you, Violet. Anyone else? All right, then as we leave the space, let's remember that we are blessed and we are blessings. We're going to go in justice and peace.
The old thing. How long you here for?
About 2 minutes.
Okay. Mel or Melvin?
Thank you.